All right, what's up, my peeps? Joshua Smith here with another GSD Mode podcast, weekly real estate tip. And today I'm here to break down the top 5 reasons that real estate agents, that realtors are struggling here in 2025. We've seen so many changes over the last couple of years, and these are, again, the top 5 reasons and what you need to do to avoid these top 5 mistakes, turn things around so you can go out there and create massive success here in 2025 and going forward. As I mentioned, the market has shifted and changed a lot. It's been kind of a wild ride these last 5 years, but especially over the last couple of years, since about 2022 going into 2023, when interest rates shifted and changed. So as you know, we've seen a lot of different changes. And mentoring, coaching so many agents, team leaders, broker owners throughout the country. I have the honor to be able to work with and talk with so many agents. And when I'm having initial conversations with those agents that need my help, that want to jump in, whether it be through a partnership or jumping into my coaching program, again, these are the top 5 biggest mistakes that I'm seeing people make inside of our industry right now. So let's dive on into these. Okay, so mistake number 1 is their lack of commitment. And I'm going to get more granular, more tactical, more strategic as we get into these. So this first one, though, is very high level, right? When I say lacking commitment, they are just interested, they're not committed. And success is only reserved for those that are truly committed. So what is the difference between interested and committed? So when you're interested, you just do the actions when you feel like doing them, when they're easy, when they're convenient, when you have motivation, right? So it's more of you doing it when you're emotionally in a state where it's just that much easier to go out there and do it, right? And interested is always going to lead to pain. So what is commitment? What does it mean when you are truly committed? Committed means, hey, I'm going to show up each and every single day, each and every single week, and do the necessary actions that I must do, regardless of my emotional state, whether I'm having a good day, bad day, whether I'm feeling motivated or feeling down, depressed, beat down, whatever. We show up and we get shit done regardless of our emotional state. And that's what commitment means. So it's okay, based on whatever your strategic plan is. If you are, maybe you're doing 12 deals, but you really want to scale up to doing 50 deals a year. Okay, first thing that I do with any coaching client or agent partners, we reverse engineer the architectural plans so they then know, not just on a yearly basis, but then on a quarterly basis, then on a monthly basis, then on a weekly basis, all the way down to a daily basis of exactly what they need to do to win. And then we put a schedule together for that. Okay, at this time, you're waking up at this time. And then for everybody, their schedules are different. I don't have like one uniform schedule I give to everybody because everybody's life situation is different. Everybody's commitments outside of real estate's different. Everybody's schedule is different, right? Or they're just, their life can be different based for different reasons, and which is obvious, right? So then from there, though, I'm going to come up with it, make sure that we come up with that customized schedule. And so whether it's me helping them or just for those of you, that are watching or listening, is we come up with your own, right? So we come up with that schedule. Okay, here's every day when my work day starts. Well, then here's what that first activity looks like. I'm a big believer in time blocking. So it's like, hey, here's what my first hour time block looks like. Here's what my second 2 hour time block looks like. Here's what my third, 30-minute time block looks like. Here's what my next 90-minute time block looks like. Here's what my next 4 hour time block looks like, right? So we have dedicated time blocks based on the activities, based on their strategy plan, because we know exactly, precisely, with precision, what they must do to win every single day. So what commitment is, okay, you get that shit done every single day. It's like just like recording these podcasts. There's some days where I just don't feel like doing it. There's some days where I'm excited to do it. I want to do it. Then there's some days where I don't necessarily feel like doing it, but I'm going to show up and do it anyway. Kind of like going to the gym. There's days where you're pumped up and you feel like going. And then there's going to be days where it's like, man, I don't really want to go. But if you're committed to your health and fitness, you're going to show up and do it anyway. So number 1 reason, and these aren't like in a hierarchy, all of these are really important, but is they're lacking the commitment. They're not truly committed to their success. They're not truly committed to their goals. They're not truly created, to mastering their craft and to going out there and making their goals a reality. Because when you're committed, there's no room for an excuse. There's no room for a reason. It's just, hey, here's what I got to do. Let me go out there and execute and take action. So number 1 reason is lack of commitment, meaning just really lack of execution, a lack of true commitment to their goal. Okay, number 2 is with the market economy shift. Now, when I say this, I want to be very careful because I want you to understand that the market and the economy have nothing overall to do with your overall success. meaning that the real estate market doesn't dictate my success or your success. You and I, we alone dictate our success. So I look at this always from the philosophy of there's no such thing as a good market, no such thing as a bad market. The market's always good for somebody. It's our job as real estate professionals to identify whom the market is good for, shift, pivot, adapt accordingly to whom the market is good for. But when the market shifts, it's kind of like playing poker. Like the hand that I get, like I can't control the hand that I'm going to get. I just got to play the hand that I'm given to the absolute best of my ability. You and I cannot control interest rates. You and I cannot control prices. You and I cannot control whether in a, economic expansion, economic contraction, recession, depression, like we cannot control those things. But what can we control? We can control our mindset, we control our attitude. We can control our ability to show up, to take the actions, and we can also control our ability to pivot. So when I say because of the market and the economy, I'm not using that as a cop-out, to use that as an excuse to be like, oh, my business is down just because the market and the economy. That's what victims do. That's what losers do. And when I say losers, not meaning that somebody's a loser as a human being. I'm saying that they're losing inside their real estate business. You got winners and you got losers. Winners accomplish their goals. Losers don't, right? What winners do is they're like, hey, here's what I've been dealt. How do I adapt, shift, pivot accordingly to make my goals a reality? What victims do, what losers do, is they blame outside circumstances for their overall success. So we cannot control outside circumstances. So with this, and where I'm going with this, because of the reality is the market has shifted, the economy has shifted. We are now in the most unaffordable time to be alive as a U.S. citizen. We are in the biggest real estate contraction since the Great Depression. Now, somebody can argue with me on that. Sometimes I get pushback on that. Oh, Josh, that's not true. We're just the lowest transaction volume, contraction, decline that we've seen since 1995. And that is true when people kind of challenge me on this. But then as we start unpacking this further, okay, in 1995, there were 78 million lesser Americans. So transaction level is the same level, the same amount of homes closing on a national basis as we saw in 1995. But we got almost 80 million more Americans. Then from there, we got over 3 times the amount of realtors. So when I'm saying that it's the biggest contraction since the Great Depression, that's what I'm speaking on based on number of units per capita that are actually moving. So shit's changed, right? So we need to change with it. So the reason number 2 is agents haven't adapted their strategy. They haven't pivoted and focused. I'll give an example with this. So for the first 18 years of my career, going after people going through a divorce to get listings was never a niche I targeted, never a niche I went after for my first 18 years of my career. But then 2 years ago, I started just seeing the shifts that we're experiencing, realizing that, hey, we are now and it's irrefutable. We're in the most unaffordable time to be alive as a U.S. citizen since the inception of the United States. Number 1 reason for divorce, financial hardship. So I'm okay with that being said. Okay, people are struggling in general terms. Maybe you aren't, but in speaking in general terms, people are struggling today more so than any other time financially in the history of our country. So then when we start looking at that, I'm like, okay, well, number 1 reason for divorce is financial hardship. So divorces must be on the skyrocket. So I go do my due diligence on that. I see that indeed is true. So then 2 years ago, we start adopting that as a niche, quickly becomes our second best overall listing source going after that niche. So because the market shifted and changed, just like, okay, I got in the business in 2005, started just crushing open houses, 5 to 7 open houses every single week. Did 48 deals in my first 12 months through open houses. Then going into my second year, I was still consistently doing insane amounts of open houses, but then I also had expireds. That led to 103 deals. Well, then within about 2.5 years, 3 years of me getting in the business, well, the market falls off a cliff. We go in the great financial crisis and enter the worst housing market crash in recorded history. So I had to pivot, shift, and adapt it during that time. Went from open houses, expired, traditional business. Then I had to pivot into short sales, pivot into REO. Got myself aligned with, worked my ass off to get aligned with by prospecting crazy, like a madman for 6 months straight to go out there and get my first REO account. And then, that led to then getting 35 different REO and asset manager accounts over the years. So I had to pivot my business. Real estate was still moving. It was still trading hands, but who was buying, who was selling, why they're buying, why they're selling, where they're coming from, where they're going is always changing. So we got to adapt with it. So if you are doing the same crap that you were doing in 2018, 2019, 2020, 21, even 2022, okay, well, that probably isn't getting the same results today, right? So we got to pivot with our overall market shift. And for those of you that are probably watching this video, if your business is growing and crushing it right now, you're probably not watching or listening to this podcast, right? So for those of you that are watching or listening to this, you're wanting to expand your business, maybe your business is down, you're looking to pivot. Okay, you need to pivot with it. You need to adjust your overall strategy with what we are seeing. It's the biggest thing, like, and even within strategies that we are doing. So I'll give an example of this because I know that's kind of complicated of how I stated it there. So, okay, I've been doing Facebook ads at a very high level since 2015. But even my Facebook ads, I'm still doing them, but they've changed dramatically since 2022. Historically, I always ran kind of local ads, very specific local ads. But then it got to a point here where, okay, a home that's maybe worth 750 grand, 6-7 years ago was 300 grand. Locals are like, well, that's ridiculous, right? And incomes haven't kept up with prices, from a local level. So we've outpriced an insane amount of locals. We went from being the fifth most affordable metro in the United States to the fifth, in the fifth top least affordable. So then from there, I've had to get more strategic even with my Facebook ads. So I'm still doing Facebook ads, but instead of doing them the same way that I used to be doing, I run them to specific markets that are relocating to my market where my market is a win for. So an example of this, we get a lot of people relocating from San Francisco Bay Area to my market. So even though things have gotten insane expensive here, it's still relatively inexpensive for somebody that is living in San Francisco Bay Area. So, our average reload from that area is maybe living in a 3-bed, 2-bath, 1,300 square foot house that's 100 years old that they sell for 1.5 million. They're able to come down here, buy something brand new for 800 grand that feels like a freaking mansion. It's beautiful, gated community, and to them, they're like, I cannot believe this is a reality. Holy crap. Like, to them, it's a massive win. So I've had to get more strategic of, okay, people throughout the country, metros, cities, and the metros within those cities, where people are experiencing big pain with their current situation, where my market is a win for. So sometimes even within things that we are doing, maybe you're doing open houses and you're going after first-time buyers. Well, maybe you're in a market like mine where it's very difficult to service first-time buyers. There's really not first-time buyer product out there. Well, okay, even with open houses, we've had to pivot and switch strategies even within those things in our market. So reason number 2 is, okay, real estate agents, because of the market economic shifts that we've experienced over the last few years, they haven't adapted their strategy plans accordingly based on the market shift. Okay, number 3 is they're still playing defense versus playing strategic offense. So defense is, I'm just waiting for crap to come to me. And look, the hard part about this is why I like new agents right now, because they don't have bad habits yet. They don't know any different yet. They know nothing other than this market. So they don't have excuses. They don't, again, they didn't develop those bad habits, because from 2012 to 2022, longest bull market recorded history, longest economic expansion recorded history, longest real estate expansion recorded history. And the danger there that took place was, you could just kind of show up. You could be interested, not necessarily committed. You could just kind of show up. You could kind of work hard. Things could kind of fall in your lap, and you could go out there and make multiple 6 figures in this business. Well, those days are gone. They're long gone, right? So it's a lot more intense. He or she that's the best operator wins today. So we can no longer just wait for crap to come to us, especially this transaction volume decline. Even those that have been in this business for a long time, it's not uncommon. I'm having conversations with people that have been in this business for 15, 20 years that built up a great book of business, great kind of past client sphere of influence, book of business, if you will, that were used to, let's just say, doing 100 deals a year through that. And they built up a great solid business doing that, where now they're doing only 50 deals. Their business got cut in half. Well, you got half the amount of people that can or willing to, go out there and participate in real estate in this current climate that we're in. So those things have all come down. They've all gotten a little bit more challenging. You got lesser people that are able and or willing to partake in this housing market. So defense is when we're waiting for shit to come to us. Okay, strategic offense is twofold, right? So strategic, well, we're being laser focused. We're operating like a sniper with a sniper scope, so we're not shotgunning shit out. We're operating with intention of, okay, who has the highest probability of needing my services based on this market. I gave an example of that before with divorces, right? So instead of like just circle prospecting and reaching out to all these homeowners that may or may not need to sell, and a lot of them may want to sell, but they're not going to sell because they got a 3% interest rate. This is a market of targeting people that need to buy and sell, not that want to buy and sell. So that's strategic, getting very laser focused like a sniper with who has the highest probability of needing my services on the buy side, sell side, invest side, in my market. Now, offense means, okay, I'm not waiting for anything to come to me. I'm going after it. I'm doing things that are my full control, where my fate is in my own hands. So like, okay, with the divorces, this is a question I get a ton when people learn, about the amount of volume that myself and my agent partners, my coaching clients, business that we're doing through this niche. So the number one question that I get with though, when I'm talking about that is, oh, so do you just go get relationship with divorce attorneys? No. That's me playing defense. That's me just waiting for these divorce attorneys to send me business. Now I'm back into a defensive position. I'm just waiting back, hoping and praying that somebody starts sending me business. And I'm not saying to not go out there and develop those relationships. What I'm saying is make that a secondary kind of side hustle where I'll go out there and develop those relationships, but I'm not going to rely on it. Right now I'm going to go get their contact information directly. And I'm going to go out there and whether I'm calling, doing letter campaigns, online targeted ads, I'm going to play offense and target them directly, personally, with intention. That's what I mean by strategic offense. So you don't have to wait for crap to come to you. You are going after it, but you're being strategic where you have the highest, probably you're getting the most juice for the squeeze, right? Okay, so number 4, they've yet to start treating their business as a business. So they're still operating like an amateur. They're not operating like a pro. They're not treating their business as a business. So we hear this all the time. How do I know if somebody's treating their business as a business? Okay, number 1, they're going to have a strategic plan in place, a strategy plan in place where they know with precision who they're going after, what they need to do, how much of it that they need to do. They know exactly what they need to do to win on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. Hey, here's, the activities that I'm doing. Here's exact, activities to go out there and generate leads. Here's exactly how many leads I need to generate. Here's how many reach outs, conversations, appointment set, appointment conductions, clients equates to X amount of closings, right? So they're operating with, have a strategy plan with precision. Number 2, they are tracking their numbers. You cannot run a business, an actual business, and you're not treating your business as a business unless you're tracking your data. It's an impossibility to create predictability inside your business. It's a possibility to also know areas of improvement inside your business if you're not tracking. Then the other component, so we got, strategy plan, we got tracking, tracking your data. Then from there, you break down your strategy into processes, and then you have those processes live in systems, right? Any great business is going to have standard operating procedures, SOPs, right? So that's all processes are. And then, it's like, okay, hey, here's step 1, here's step 2, here's step 3. So I got manuals, step-by-step processes for anything done more than once in every aspect of my business. Then those processes live inside systems to ensure they're easy to follow, easy to access, to ensure things don't get forgotten. And then also to ensure, because as we continue to grow and scale, and we're starting to hire staff and bring on agents, that then allows me to inspect what I expect. The mistake that so many make is they think that, oh, I'm just a solo agent, I don't need to treat my business as a business because I'm a solo agent. No, that's the most important time. I mean, it's always important, but I'd argue that that is the most important time that you got to treat your business as a business because you're wearing all the hats. You're doing it all by yourself. So you got to be that much more intentional. So you'd be that much more effective and efficient. Okay, reason number 5 is they have not aligned with the right people inside their business. Now, we've all heard this by like Jim Rohn, the famous quote of Jim Rohn of you're the average of the 5 people that you spend most time with. I saw a quote, I can't remember who posted it, some big, successful entrepreneur posted it on X the other day, and I can't remember who off mine, but, it was something along the lines of, if you're lacking motivation, if you're lacking drive and lacking motivation inside your business, start aligning yourself and surrounding yourself with people where your biggest goals are their minimum goals. Your biggest goals are their baselines. I'm a huge believer of success through osmosis. Like when I first got licensed, like I had the passion, I had the drive. I was so sick and tired of being broke, so sick and tired of being a loser, feeling like a loser and being a loser. I was willing to do whatever it took to go out there and create success. But then from there, I knew that, hey man, I needed the roadmap. I needed the game plan. I just knew from, playing sports and a little bit of bodybuilding, other experience I had in my life. I was, smart enough, I guess, at that point in my life to know that I can't figure this out on my own. I know that, okay, I don't care how hard you're sprinting. If you're sprinting east to chase the sunset, you're never going to see it. So I knew that like there's no shortage of hardworking, broke people inside of our industry. So I'm okay. Yeah, I gotta have that passion, that drive, that desire, that commitment to working my ass off, but I need the right roadmap. So I went out and found the biggest badass in the industry I possibly could have been in the industry for multiple decades before I got in. It was one of the top agents, team leaders in the country by that point. And I was like, all right, this most successful dude I've met in the industry, most successful dude I ever met at that point in my life. I'm like, I need to learn from you. I didn't care what splits were, especially with new agents or struggling agents. They get so caught up in splits. One of my good friends has a saying that 80% of a watermelon is a hell of a lot more and better than 100% of a grape. So I didn't care. I was like, dude, as Jim Rohn said, it's not about what you get, it's about whom you become. So I wanted to make sure that I got that right knowledge. I had that right roadmap. So that's important to have the right roadmap. But then from there, on a day-to-day basis, I look at, okay, like who are the people I'm having conversations with on a day-to-day basis? Who's in my inner circle? They're all a bunch of driven, hardcore badasses that want to take over this industry, take over the world, take over, right? Like, or at least take over their world. I'm not hanging out with people that are like, oh, just, man, if I could just close a deal every quarter. I'm not saying anything wrong with that, but I want to surround myself with people that inspire the hell out of me all the time, that are trying to do everything that they can, not just saying it, but with their actions, they're trying to strive to become the best of the best inside, their business. And it's the thing that I love about the brokerage that I've chosen to partner with and be with at EXP, because we have hands down the biggest team leaders, the biggest producers here in the United States. Nobody sells close to as much real estate. We have, you go to any area, any location, we pretty much have the number one individual agent, number one team leader, or number two individual agent, number two team leader. But when you start collectively looking at this, like on my Rolodex and through there, I've got, tons and tons of people I can reach out to at any given point in time to learn from, that are selling 1,000 units a year, that are doing $1 billion a year in volume, or selling 500 units a year, whatever. And this is where, again, and one of the reasons why I made the move to EXP, because I got to a point where I was starting to get comfortable, got to a point where I was the biggest fish in this little pond that I was in. I'm like, dude, I got to go jump into the ocean. Well, I'm this little fucking fish, but I got all this ocean to be able to grow and expand into my, best version of myself. And to me, that's something that just through my experience, I found to be so damn powerful. Now, I'm not saying that you got to go join, EXP. What I'm saying is you got to get yourself around a bunch of freaking badasses that just motivate the hell out of you, inspire the hell out of you, challenge you to want to become better, to grow. And look, initially might make you feel like shit. Initially, it might make you feel bad about yourself, right? Like, why do people hate on other people? Why do people hate on successful people? Dude, it's because life is a mirror. Right? Like if somebody's talking shit about somebody, right? What that shit that they're talking is a reflection really of themselves. Like if somebody's ever talking shit about me, I'm like, I don't care. Doesn't mean anything to me. It actually says more about them than it does about me. It's none of my business. That's their own business, because that's all about them internally of what they have going on. Just like there's nothing I or anybody else can say that can actually offend you. If you get offended, there's probably truth somewhere in that. Again, life is a mirror. So when we start seeing all these other killers, these driven people, at first, it can be hard. It can be a challenge, because it makes us feel kind of guilty and bad about ourselves. But then when we get beyond that and we start using that, not from a negative comparison aspect, right? Like, okay, there's some people that are just better, right? There's some people that are just better than me. I've never been the number one team leader in the world. I've never been, I've been in the top 1%, but I don't beat myself up for that. Like, this is my race. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself, the best version of Joshua Smith that I can be. And the more that I focus on that and do that, then the better that I get. So, but when you're surrounding yourself with those right people, then again, like, okay, if I call up one of my friends, I'm like, oh man, I've worked 7 days a week, for the past 6 weeks straight, 12-hour work days, right? And I'm calling them, like, they ain't gonna feel sorry for me. They're like, all right, good job, dude. What do you got to do to crank up that 14? I got to do what you got to do during certain seasons of your life to get your shit together. They're never going to be like, oh, you're working so hard, you deserve a day off. Like, they know what my goals are. They know what my vision is. They know what I need to do. And they're like, okay, good job. Now, how do we take it to the next level? Right? So they're challenging me on a different front, different area. So if you find that you're not aligned with the right people, if you find that you don't have the right strategy plan, if you're not treating your business as a business, and you want to learn about how to do this at a higher level, and you want to have a conversation with me personally about partnering together on how we can go over there and dominate, and how I can support and help you inside your real estate business, where you get 100% free access to all my coaching, all my training, all my materials from a one-on-one basis, to access to all my SOPs, manuals, trackers. There's nothing in my business that I don't just give you. But then you also, in addition to that, get access to and all the coaching and materials from my business partner, Mike Sherrard, who's hands down the best in the industry at helping those grow and expand their business through social media and through AI. So if you want to have a 100% free, 100% confidential, 100% zero pressure Zoom call where we could just break down and walk through, hey, here's what this looks like. Answer any questions that you have. And like I said, everything I do is 100% zero pressure. I'm not going to recruit you. I'm not going to push you. I'm not going to pressure you. It's just, hey, here's what we got going on. Here's what we do. Here's how we operate. Here's how I think. We could go over there and freaking crush it together because I truly believe that we can do more together than we can apart. I'm not saying that you got to join my team. I'm saying we can team up in a different way. It's what I love about EXP because it allows us to really build a brokerage instead of a brokerage where we can all support each other. Well, you don't pay me a damn thing. You're going out there and keeping full splits, growing your own business, growing your own team, but allows us to work together, partner together, keep each other inspired, keep each other in that growth mode, give you all the resource and materials that you need to go out there and ensure that you are crushing and dominating your goals. And at the end of that call, if you think that this is a better overall fit environment for you, for your team, for your agents, whether you're independent agent, new agent, team leader, brokerage owner, look, I'm looking to just partner with other driven badasses from all over the US. And really, we're in 25 countries, so in other countries as well. So that's something that you want to take advantage of. Below, wherever you're watching this, wherever you're listening to this, below will be a link in the description or the show notes of where you can go schedule a quick 30-minute Zoom call, with me to where we can have that quick conversation. All right. So anyway, I hope that you guys found this helpful. Make sure to get these 5 things dialed in so you're not getting crushed here, not struggling in 2025. Because like I said, success is a choice. There's no reason if your business is struggling right now, it's only because of you, right? You can quickly just turn these things around by dialing these things in. Yeah, it's going to take a lot of work, but struggling takes a lot of work too. Right? So success takes a lot of work. Struggling takes a lot of work. It's both going to be pain. They're both going to be struggles, different types of struggles, different types of pains, but they're both going to exist. People think that, life's just going to be easy. No, dude, like pain and struggle are going to happen regardless. So you just got to pick and choose which pain and which struggle it is that you want to go out there and face. Just like, okay, when I was morbidly obese, almost 300 pounds, could barely get up a flight of stairs, looking in the mirror, freaking being disgusted and hating my body and, have low self-confidence and, right? Okay, that was pain. But then losing 100 pounds, right? Getting in shape, all of those things, that was a different type of pain. They're both painful. I just had to pick and choose which pain would I rather live with? Which pain would I rather experience? Which pain would be bring more fulfillment to my overall life? So just pick and choose which pain. Hopefully you choose success versus struggle. Because it's, my opinion, much better. All right. So anyway, hope this is helpful. Keep crushing, keep kicking ass. I will see you next time. Peace.